Hello, my friends. Terry here, and today's the day. We're finally going to be adding coolant to my newly completed, refreshed cooling system on my BMW Z3. So I hope you guys are ready, and let's go ahead and get the system bled. Okay, I do want to make a quick disclaimer before I get started, and that is if you have an M52TU or an M54 engine for your BMW, the correct way to bleed your coolant is with the car level on the ground. It is very common for a lot of people, even professional shops, to tell you to elevate the car so that way wherever your coolant is going is at the highest point. So for this video, I'm going to do it with the car elevated just to see if you can still bleed it that way, even though you're supposed to have it level on the ground. But just take note of that. You want to have it level on the ground, and you're going to try to pump most of the air out manually by hand by squeezing the upper radiator hose to get a lot of those bubbles out of the system before you start to run the car. So I'm going to do it that way, but I'm just going to add the elevation step just to see if you could still bleed the system even though it's supposed to be on the ground. All right, my friends, so before I go completely into that, I want to cover one thing real quick. I ran into an issue, if you guys recall from my last video, where there was that one connection from the CCV that wouldn't connect to the valve cover. And it was because the O-ring that the manufacturer had included on that particular hose was too big. So this is what I did. I went to Harbor Freight and I bought a $10 O-ring kit. This is metric. And it had exactly what I needed to get this on. So I took the old O-ring off, matched it up in the kit, and got one that was just a little smaller, put it on, and this one went ahead and it clicked it right into place, no problem. So once again, we ran into an issue where a manufacturer had the wrong O-ring on something. We ran into that issue when we were doing the water pipe. Europarts put the wrong O-rings on the water pipe, and I had to get different O-rings. Well, I can't remember who I bought the CCV from, which company made this one, but they also had the same issue with the wrong sized O-ring. But I went ahead and got that fixed, so that's officially on. Let's go ahead and work on getting the coolant system taken care of here. And we're not going to need very much of anything. We're going to need a screwdriver, and you're going to want probably get yourself a wide funnel just so you're not spilling your coolant everywhere. And I'm going to be using the Zerex G48 coolant. Now this stuff is made for BMWs, and it even says on the back that it's good for BMW from 91 to present. So I got 2001, I'm good to go. So let's go ahead and we'll get this in the system. Now my BMW Z3 is supposed to take 10.5 liters of coolant. That converts to about 2.77 gallons of coolant. So that's why I got the 3 gallons here. Now I did put a racing radiator in there compared to the stock one, so it's a little bit larger. So I should use all 3 gallons. I don't know if I'm going to need more than that. If I do, I'll go and I'll buy another gallon if I need it, but I'm hoping 3 gallons will be plenty because I don't really know how much extra capacity that new radiator is going to take. But we'll find out. So let's go ahead and start getting this stuff in. All right, so I went ahead and I grabbed an old towel and I put it around the outside here because there is going to be some coolant might kind of leak out from the bleeder screw when we take that out as we let it kind of bleed and cycle through the system. So I don't want to have a lot of cleanup and getting all the coolant off of stuff. So I'm just going to be preemptive on this one and have a towel in place to kind of catch whatever kind of spills out. Now what you're going to do is we will remove the bleeder screw and we'll take the cap off. We'll start adding coolant in here. Now we're going to get, if you look on here, they have like this reading right here for maximum coolant. So when the little ball in the middle is up here, that's when this thing is full. I can't see, it's all the way down in there right now, you can't see it. But as I start adding coolant, that little red little rod's going to come up. And we're going to get a false fill on the coolant system because we're going to go ahead and we're going to pour coolant in. I should get maybe almost 2 gallons in. before it won't take anymore, in which case at that point we'll have to run the system so we can start to cycle it around and get it to go through the heater core, and then we'll have to add more coolant, and we got to get all the bubbles out. So another thing to take note of is, where are you adding coolant on your car? Because you want that to be the highest point when you're bleeding your system. This way, because air is going to want to go to the highest point. So you want, wherever you're filling coolant, whether you have a reservoir on the side like I do, or if you're filling on your radiator, or if you have the overflow tank, wherever you're adding coolant, that needs to be the highest point. So for me, I went ahead and I put a wheel block underneath the side of my car here. So I only have this side lifted, so that way this side will be the highest point. If you're filling in the front, then you're going to want to have the whole front of the car lifted up, so that way the front of the car will be the highest point. So you can either put it on ramps or jack stands, whatever works for you. So take note of that. All right, let's go ahead and start putting some coolant in this thing. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take out the bleeder screw. And I'm going to have myself a funnel to kind of get started, so I'm not spilling it everywhere. So a gallon of this stuff costs about $22 a gallon. So I don't want to be spilling it. Also keep in mind that your measurements are going to be slightly off, because if you did like I did, I flushed it out with water quite frequently. I put distilled water in here in at least 3 different instances and drained it. You're never going to fully get all the water out of the system when you drain it. So you're still going to have some water in your system. So that's going to add to what you're adding. All right, 1 gallon is in. Now I gotta be careful as I add the 2nd gallon, because she's going to start to overflow. And what we're looking for, you'll see this is starting to come up. So what we're gonna look for is, we want to pour it in until it starts to come out where the bleeder screw was. I don't have a steady enough hand to just pour it directly into the reservoir. That's why I'm using the funnel. I'm going to stop there for a moment. So another thing you also can do is squeeze your hoses. This is going to help kind of the coolant through the system and kind of push air around. I can hear it burping up there. All right, and that's 2 gallons. All right, you can see my little fill is up to the top. I haven't started pouring out here yet, so now I'm going to have to fill it carefully without my funnel so I can keep an eye on it better. All right, so before I start adding some from the 3rd gallon, I'm going to once again kind of squeeze hoses. See if I can get that to go down at all. A lot of air came out. That's good. There's a pretty big air bubble in this hose. Okay, I really don't feel confident pouring a full gallon. I know I'm going to spill, so I'm going to continue to use the funnel. I'm just going to go extra slow, and I'm going to watch for it to start to spill out. Oh. All right, she's starting to bubble out, so I'm going to stop there. All right, so it looks over full right now, which is what we want, because once I start the car, it's going to suck it down. Okay, so I got the bleeder screw is still out, and I went ahead and I closed the cap. So we're going to start up the car. This way it can start to cycle through, and all the bubbles are going to come out of here. And then once we stop seeing bubbles, we'll shut the car off, let it cool. We'll have to add more. You don't want to have your cap off when the car's running, because as the stuff starts to heat up, it's going to spill out, and you don't want that. And you also want to make sure that it has time to cool down, because of the pressure of this. It's going to make it come exploding out on you, and you don't want that either. I will have to open this up to add more because I know I don't have a full reservoir right now. So then you come inside your car. I have a manual. So. All right, so I'm going to, before I even start it, I'm going to make sure that it's on defrost. The heat is at maximum, and you want your fan on low. Mine's already on low, so we're good there. Make sure your fan's on low. And this is so the coolant will get, this opens up the heater core, so it starts flushing coolant and stuff through the heater core, and it starts heating it up like it's supposed to. So that's what we want that to do. So we got that set. Let's go ahead and start up the car. I'm gonna prime it for a second. All right, we got it running. Now that service light is because I had a P440 code or something like that that I'm still been trying to diagnose. So ignore that. You see how we have bubbles coming out? That's exactly what we want. So we're gonna let it run for a little bit, and we're gonna watch as those bubbles come out. If it stops pouring coolant out, the level's getting low, and I'll have to let it cool down, and I'll add more coolant. But right now, it's still flowing out of here just fine. All right, so while it was running for a little bit, I squeezed the hose some more. A bunch of air came out and stuff. I went ahead and I shut it off. I'm going to give it a couple moments, and then I'm going to open it and add more coolant to the system. And then we'll do it again. Once we get to the point where we have enough coolant in it, we can just leave it idle for 10 minutes so we can try to get all the air out. And I got the car running. I haven't been seeing any bubbles coming out in a while, but I know there's still got to be more in there. Oh, there's some bubbles coming up now. There we go. There we go. That's what we want to see. Come on out of there. So we still got air coming out of the system. And as it heats up, it's going to, everything's going to start expanding from the heat, and that's going to help get that air to come up faster. But yeah, I'm just going to let it idle. We still got plenty of air coming out of the system. But it's going great. So just got to keep it up. All right, my friends, so I left the car idle for, I don't know, maybe about 5-10 minutes, and it held at optimum running temperature the whole time. It didn't start to get hot or anything. So to kind of speed up the process, I went ahead and I reinstalled the bleeder screw, and I'm going to take it for a short little drive down the road and bring it back. I'll let it cool down, and then I'll see if I need to add any coolant to it, and that way I can get those RPMs up and to really get all the air pockets and stuff to kind of get pushed up to the reservoir so I can slowly bleed that out. So let's just go for a real quick drive. I'll take some coolant with me just in case there is an emergency, but I'm just going to go down the road, be about a mile or so, turn around, and come back. All right, my friends, I just came back from my test drive. I went and I cleared all of my trip code that I had before taking it for the test drive. This way, if there was anything that maybe I didn't connect correctly, I will trip a code and I could know about it. And no error codes got tripped on my drive, and my temperature has been holding steady. It hasn't gone up at all, which is fantastic. I'm so pleased. So all we got to do now is I'm going to turn the car off here. And we're going to go and I'm going to open the hood again, and I'll explain what I'm going to do once I get it back out there. All right, so what I want to do now is, my engine's still really hot, so you do not want to take this cap off. It'll be very hot and very dangerous. What I want to do is I want to just loosen my bleeder screw so that way if any air got pushed up into the reservoir, I can get that air to release. And then I'll close the bleeder screw and let the engine cool down, and then I can check it to see if I need to add more coolant to it. And that's all there is really left to do, and to complete this. So let's just kind of very carefully just loosen this, just like that. Just let it bubble out. All that air can release. Perfect. And then I can tighten it back down, and that's it. So yeah, just let the engine cool, and then check to see the coolant level and add more coolant if you need to. Otherwise, if it's full, then you are officially done with bleeding the system. And there you have it, everybody. We've done it. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to have this officially completed for this cooling system project. Cannot believe that my 2-week project turned into a 4-month project, but you know, stuff happens. But we got it done. I got everything replaced, everything put back together. The car runs fantastic. It sounds good. I didn't have any fault codes get like tripped or anything like that, so I know everything's good there. So I'm quite pleased. So now I can officially start driving my car again. So I'm happy. So if you guys enjoyed this video or you found it helpful, please give me a like and make sure you hit that subscribe button. And we got plenty more projects that I want to do down the road, but we can finally check this one off. I will be making another video that will go over the cost of the entire project. So those of you looking to get into this project kind of know what to look, you know, budget wise, so that way you can prepare for it. Other than that, thank you guys so much. Be sure to check out my Instagram at CoolCatTerri, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.